like the opening scene, like not to give too much away, but you're wounded, right? You're out of breath, heart palpitations, things like that. And I remember you like talking to me in between a take and saying, wow, like that took a lot of like energy, right? Because we did a few takes on that, right? Different angles and things like that. um and you really sold it. Like that was another thing I want to say, like the body language and things like that. Like I can only imagine like the toll it takes to get to that place. How was it getting to that place for the character of Sarah? By the way, we're referring to that Connie place. Like how did you how did you get to that place, and how did you approach the character?
Definitely did some research on kind of, I think it was a knife wound. So I
Yeah.
remember looking up like knife wound injuries, like how that would hurt, how that would feel, how it heals, stuff like that. So I just kind of got an idea of like, okay, how much pain that would be. Um, and then it just, I think before we shot, I think I was just like closing my eyes and just kind of really trying to will my body to kind of feel that. And I think it's just, it gets so exhausting, because I think if you're able to trick your mind and your body into actually feeling that, the adrenaline goes through your body. You get all the same like endorphins, all the same like chemical reactions as if you were actually injured. And
Yeah.
I remember after the first take, I was like, oh my God, that's like a lot. It's like such a load of energy that you have to put into it. So,
And exhaustive too, right?
yeah,
Like
it was
mentally as well, right?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was a lot. And then to have to keep over after every take, you keep being like, okay, you're still in that same place. You're still in that same place,
Yeah.
even though you're like, it's been an hour, surely. Like,
Yeah, I know, right? No,
like,
for sure. Yeah. And again, and that's the thing, like given our like budget and like, obviously like our crew size, I always think to myself, like the fact that they do these projects, especially when it's a bigger budget and like it's a whole day of just doing that take, right? Or doing a scene where it requires you to constantly be like you're in pain. You know, it's mesmerizing, right? Like that the actors um, have to take that much toll on not only the physicality but their mental state. And like you said, like just that hour, it was taking a toll. But imagine like working multiple hours in it. Like let's say this was like
oh
an
yeah,
active or feature film, right? Because
yeah.
my imagination as the writer, that scene, that was just a snippet, but I would go like full force, like highly detailed, highly dramatic of like how you would really be feeling. Which
Mhm.
again takes takes a toll on the actor, right? It requires a lot of energy from them. But nevertheless, yeah, it was I'm just thinking about the scenes now, like going over it and like how that whole setup was a big thing for me. One of the biggest things that I started working with, experimenting with, because of this project is lighting. And I think lighting served a lot too of like the emotional drama that was going on. Did that help you in your performance, like feeling that tension, that pressure in the character?
Yeah, I think, every time you take something on set and you're literally in the space, it does definitely add another layer of believability for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And out of curiosity, what was the interest, other than you mentioned already quite kindly that it was well written? What was the interest to play the character of Sarah?
Hmm. I I think there was just a lot to explore, a lot to research, just new things that I'd never learned before. I spoke to Beal about it. He said the kind of the history of the character was being an assassin from a clan. So I definitely did a lot of research into different types of assassins. Like I was trying to figure out, is she an amateur assassin? Is she an expert assassin? So those are kind of things that I'd never explored before. And I really just wanted to, I don't know, just do something new, kind of learn new things.
Yeah. And I like that I like you're very professional like that. And you take your work very seriously, where you go beyond and research the character. That people don't realize, like um, those steps go a long way when you're actually like executing and performing the role. And what I'm getting at is like, even though it was a short film and we can only tell so much in that snippet, uh, the idea was that it's supposed to be mysterious. Like you're supposed to ask those questions, like who is she, where she come from, and things like that. And even when you write a feature, I should mention, like you still should always have those questions answered at the back of your head, even if they're not explicitly said, if that makes sense. Like as a director, if we were on a feature, like as a director, as the writer, and you as the actress, I would tell you, you know, how I like see the character from birth, kind of like even after the story, right? So you kind of can
Mhm.
get a better context of where she fits in that specific timeline, right, in the story. So that's really cool, Connie, that you took the extra step and researched the character. That's always fun.
Yeah, I was like looking at my notes. I wrote, what is it, 4,500 words? What's that, like an essay? I wrote
Wow,
more,
that's amazing.
I wrote more than I ever did in school. I was not,
Oh, there you go.
I
Yeah, yeah.
hated essay writing, but yet I do it for
I say,
acting all the time,
yeah.
no problem.
And hey, what's funny, like, you know, back to the writing is, I would always get the worst marks, like not the worst, but I was just always kind of like average, like in the B's. You know, sometimes the odd time I would get in the 80s, but essay writing was excruciatingly hard to write, just to get to that place. Yeah. But creative writing, yeah, any day, whenever they said make a story, I was just like, boom. And, you know, not to boast myself, but just to show you the contrast, I would get right 75s in essays, and then I would always get near perfect in like creative writing, you know, like
Yeah.
one off, 90%. So I can definitely relate to, like, yeah, when it comes to note taking on something you're passionate about, you'll excel.